You know that friend who everyone thought was going places? The one who aced tests without trying, who adults said was going to do something special someday. Maybe that friend is you. They graduated and then nothing. Not because they're lazy, not because they lost their edge, but because something happened that nobody warned them about. The very thing that made them successful as a kid is now the thing that is keeping them stuck. Here is the thing. Being smart in your 20s is actually harder than being average. And I know that sounds backwards, but let me explain. When you are the gifted kid, you learn a very specific lesson early on. You learn that success should come easily. Think about it. You didn't have to study for that test everyone else stressed about. You wrote the paper the night before and still got an A. Your brain made a simple calculation. Effort means you are not actually smart. Real intelligence looks effortless. Psychologists call this the fixed mindset, a concept developed by Carol Dweck at Stanford. Translation: you start believing that your abilities are set in stone. You are either smart or you are not. And if you have to work hard at something, that is evidence that you are losing it. So here is what happens in your 20s. Suddenly, everything is hard. There is no syllabus, no clear path from A to B to success. The problems don't have answers in the back of the book, and for the first time in your life, you can't figure it out instantly. But here is where it gets interesting. Instead of thinking, I need to learn this, your brain goes into threat mode. Studies show that people who are praised for intelligence rather than effort tend to avoid challenges that might make them look bad. Because in your mind, struggling means you were never that special to begin with. This creates what I call the effort threat. Every time something feels difficult, it is not just a challenge. It is an existential crisis. If you have to try this hard, maybe you are not as smart as everyone said. So you do the only logical thing. You stop trying, you procrastinate. You half-finish projects, you ghost opportunities. And everyone thinks you are lazy, but here is what they don't get. You are not avoiding the work. You are avoiding the information. The information that comes from trying your hardest and still being mediocre. Let me ask you something. Would you rather turn in nothing or turn in something that proves you are average? Be honest. Most former gifted kids would choose nothing, because nothing means I didn't try, which protects the possibility that you could have done great if you wanted to. But average means I tried and this is my ceiling. And that thought is unbearable. There is another layer here. Because you are intelligent, you have sophisticated taste. You know what good work looks like. But because you never had to struggle, your actual skills haven't caught up to your standards. The writer Ira Glass calls this the taste gap. Your taste is excellent, your execution is beginner level, and the distance between those two things feels like proof that you've failed. Here's what most people miss about this pattern. It is not a character flaw. It is actually a logical adaptation to the environment you grew up in. You were rewarded for natural ability, not for persistence. You learned to play a game where the goal was to look effortless, and you played that game brilliantly. But here is the paradox. The thing that made you successful at 12 makes you stuck at 25. Because the real world doesn't reward potential. It rewards output. It rewards the messy, imperfect action of actually doing the thing. And you never learned how to do that. Research published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people with a fixed mindset experience more anxiety and depression when facing setbacks. Not because they can't handle difficulty, but because difficulty means something different to them. It is not just hard, it is evidence they're not who they thought they were. But here is the thing that nobody tells you. Intelligence isn't what you thought it was. Real intelligence isn't about getting it right the first time. It is about staying with the problem longer than anyone else would. It is about being willing to look stupid in the service of eventually figuring it out. Translation: the smartest thing you can do is give yourself permission to be bad at something. So here is what I want you to think about. What if the version of smart you've been protecting, the effortless, naturally gifted version, was never the real thing? What if actual intelligence is about building tolerance for discomfort, for uncertainty, for being a beginner? That label they gave you, gifted, smart, so much potential. It wasn't a gift, it was a trap. Because as long as you are protecting the label, you can't do the work. And the work is the only thing that actually builds a life. Your intelligence isn't gone. It was just defined wrong from the start. Being smart isn't a status to protect. It is a tool to use. And tools only work when you take them out of the box and let them get messy. Drop a comment and tell me, are you the person who does nothing to avoid being average? Or the person who burns out trying to be perfect? And if this video made you rethink what intelligence actually means, hit like and subscribe, because we dive deep into psychology that actually explains how your mind works. See you next time.